Hey everyone, this podcast is part of Story Mode, the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. You can support us and gain access to other great exclusive podcasts at patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Hi everybody.
Hey!
I'm David Bell.
I'm Tom Ryman.
We just watched Annihilation.
We sure did.
Yep.
Your husband's here.
Let me see him.
He's extremely ill.
You have to tell me where he was, what he was doing.
It was his decision to go in. It's something they termed the shimmer. We've sent in drones and teams of people, but nothing comes back.
But something has.
You're a biologist. You served in the military.
If I knew what happened, I could save his life.
The boundary's getting bigger, it's expanding. We're talking cities, states.
You need to know what's inside. So do I.
So
And it was a film.
Yeah.
All right, it's written and directed by Alex Garland. Written for the screen, I'm sorry, and directed by Alex Garland, who did Ex Machina, which I still haven't seen.
Which you need to see.
Which I will see, maybe tonight. I don't know.
That's good.
I don't know what's in the cards for me.
Jesus.
So this is a film.
I really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, I liked it too. It's super... It's like a... Man, I don't... It's definitely science fiction.
Yes.
It's...
Science fiction / horror.
/ horror, and then it gets like real
fucking weird.
Real fucking mind-fucky at the end. It's it's one of those science fiction movies where I walked out of the theater at the end and I was like, I think I got it.
Yeah.
I think I got it.
I think so too. Yeah. I don't think it was a big like meta meaning to it or anything.
No, I
like
think
that.
it was pretty literal.
Yeah, it was pretty straightforward to me.
I
want to say, of course, spoilers.
Oh yeah, we should put spoiler tags all over this.
Oh yeah, we do. I mean,
Okay.
it's a given.
Yeah.
But just if you're like considering whether to see it and you're using this, just go see it.
Go see it first.
The saddest part about this movie is watching this movie that I really liked, and it was made by a really good filmmaker, and that we were 2 of 4 people in the theater, and it's
right. And it seemed the only reason that the other 2 people were in this particular showing was that the projector in the other theater broke. So that they were moved. Yeah,
is that really?
Yeah. That's what our
movie they didn't want to see.
No, I think this was the movie they wanted to see, but I think like the earlier showing got like. So it was 2 people from an earlier showing, and then 2 people from now who wanted to see this film.
Man, I don't know why this wasn't, because it's a Netflix release everywhere but America. And the studio seems to have very little faith in it. They barely advertised it.
I've seen 0 trailers.
And this movie is like I don't know what they thought was the problem with this movie.
Why they felt like it was such a... I mean, it's... The end... There are parts of the movie that are challenging, particularly for like a major release film, but like it's not
unsellable. That's the thing, is like if the studio even felt like they were tricking people, like they can trick them, because this had monsters in it.
It sure did.
It was like a sci-fi like Arrival. Like I don't know why they just didn't advertise it like you would Arrival. Like I feel like whoever marketed this was just lazy, because it was
and well, they just didn't try. Like the only reason I saw trailers for this is because it was one of the movies you talked about for movies that deserve more hype. So I went out and watched the trailers online, but I haven't seen one trailer like on television or at the theater or anything. Yeah. I've seen one billboard for it in Los Angeles, and like other than that, like heard nothing about this film.
Yeah, it's really weird.
It just sort of came out. Fuck, where do we even start?
I guess
it's like a weird. This is gonna sound maybe not great, but it's like a weird mix for me between Arrival and Prometheus, but like the film that Prometheus was trying to be.
Yeah, I felt like I was, man. See, this is one of the reasons I like this movie, is I can't like be like, oh, it's like Aliens, because it's not like Aliens.
No, it's not.
It's not like Prometheus. It's not like Arrival for me. It's you know what it reminds me of, and this is a good answer.
What?
Sphere. I love
Kind of.
Sphere.
Kind of.
I love any sci-fi movie where they're like, there's this thing and an anomaly, and we're going to send a team to do it, and it like mind fucks them.
Right.
They even do the title cards like Sphere, where they do each section of like where they're like the glimmer and like the
they do
area
chapter
X.
headings.
Yeah, which Sphere did, or like 2001. I just like the unknown version of sci-fi where it's like we're going into this thing and it's
right, and it does a thing that I enjoy where they where the unknown can be a thing in films. There's a hesitance or reticence, I'm not sure which is the correct term, to feel like you have to explain absolutely everything to the audience. And I like the idea of a film where the premise is there's this thing that is mysterious and weird and creepy, and we're going to go into it and find out what it is, but the reveal of what it is or the answer to what it is isn't entirely clear.
right.
Because it wouldn't be.
Right.
But that's acceptable if it's done well. Like Prometheus is an example of that not done well.
A movie I want to mention that we've covered already that is a good comparison is the Cloverfield Paradox.
Sure.
Because a movie can be weird and baffling as long as there's rules to it. As long as you feel like they're not just being weird because for the sake of weird. And that felt like the difference a lot because this has body horror.
Yes.
Cloverfield Paradox. It has weird mystery, weird like dimensional rift type of stuff. It's very much similar to Cloverfield Paradox in its themes. The difference is Cloverfield Paradox didn't know there was no talent behind it.
It was a very bad script.
Yeah,
It
they
was
did
just
body horror, but it's like a cartoony
And
hand
just-
coming off.
and just randomly thrown in there.
Yeah, or it's like the worm spitting out worms. That's like
The
that's
lady in the
body
walls.
horror from someone who doesn't know what real horror is.
Or, I mean, there just wasn't any reason for it.
Yeah.
In this film, like, the movie is about, like, the movie is about the beginning and the end of life and sort of the unity in it and how the two overlap. So the title Annihilation, when you see it play out in the film, it winds up meaning both simultaneously the end and the beginning of life. So in that way is why I would connect it to Prometheus. But it's because, like when something dies and becomes dust or dirt or matter or whatever, it's this whole circle of life thing. But the basic premise is some sort of asteroid or apparently an alien spacecraft.
Yeah, something crashes into a lighthouse
On the coast, and this aura, this energy starts to slowly grow around it. And it's done with the story's told with a lot of repeated imagery, with Natalie Portman's character, who is a cellular biologist. So the film starts with us watching footage of cells dividing, and that's what they call it, the shimmer, this growth that's occurring, and that's what it is. It's a cell that's constantly dividing and growing and sort of infecting everything around it. So it's like
It's destroying everything, but it's creating a new world.
It's cancer.
Yeah.
There's a lot to this movie.
Yeah.
But, okay, so Natalie Portman's husband, Oscar Isaac, is part of a military team that's not even the first team. It's like it's later in apparently the anomaly's been there for several years, and his team is just like the latest team to go in there, and he disappears for 12 months, presumed dead. And then he just suddenly shows up back at the house, and she's taken him to the hospital because he starts bleeding out from his mouth. Also,
he's dressed like a beat poet.
He is. He shows up
dressed like a beat poet.
Yeah.
He's got slick back hair.
He definitely. He shows up like he's trying to pick up college women at a coffee shop. And they're taken to the hospital. They get pulled over by the police, and they get taken to this military base. Which is just this operation on the outskirts of the Shimmer. It's just headed by a stone-cold Jennifer Jason Leigh.
She does not give a fuck.
She is so good in this movie.
Oh, my God. It's not... All right, what I love about the performance is that it's not... When you say, like, play a sociopath or something, people tend to play it a certain way. Her tone is stone-cold, but it's, like, soft. It's like
just...
almost compassionate, but monotone.
It's a monotone. Yeah,
and it's... it's just a really good performance.
It's a person who feels nothing.
Yeah,
is what she went for. There, when like you said, when somebody says play a sociopath, people nowadays particularly tend to try to like Heath Ledger it up.
Yeah,
it's like no, you can be somebody who's just she's
neutral.
Yeah,
she's not bad. She's just neutral.
Yeah, she just doesn't feel anything.
Yeah.
But she's fucking great. And then the team comprised of those two and Tessa Thompson and Gina Rodriguez and another lady who I didn't recognize, an actress I've not seen before. Okay. They're the small team of scientists that go into the shimmer, and then things go fucking ape shit.
Yeah.
Gorilla shit and bear shit, if you will. Alligator shit. It's the way that things go. And deer shit, briefly.
Briefly deer shit. I wouldn't say that wasn't deer shit. That was just deer.
Yeah, and it's told with a lot of time jumping.
Yeah, well, I really liked how they did. It felt a little bit like a cheat, but they walk in, and then it's a flashback, and then Natalie Portman wakes up in the tent, and no one knows how the hell they got into the shimmer after first entering it, which felt a little convenient, but I liked that for the story because it was like, we need to go back, and it's like, you don't even know where the fuck you are. Like, they don't know what they're disoriented right away.
The way the story is told, I think that's deliberate. It seems like a cheat, but it's like,
oh no,
I think she's experiencing, because the idea is that, and Alex Garland does a really good way of setting this up because he keeps showing us refracted light. Yeah. So I was already thinking about that phrase, refraction, because there's the shimmer,
shimmer.
So, but like when Oscar Isaac first shows up at the house, he lingers on this shot of them holding hands through a glass of water, and you can see how it's broken by how light refracts when it goes through water.
Shot and thinking that means
something.
Also, to go earlier in this, we haven't gotten to this point when she talks to a colleague. The camera work, instantly made me uneasy, and it instantly made me think like, okay, there's something between those two, because the way they shoot it is usually when you shoot a scene, you have the leading room in front of the actor where they're facing. So if two people are talking to each other, if we want to show someone talking to someone who's to the left of them, you have all the negative space of the shot on the left, and vice versa. And they did the opposite, where she was talking to her colleague or her friend, and all the negative space was behind her. And it shows some sort of discomfort or some sort of disconnection, or like the idea that they're somewhere else, that they're not really in this conversation. And it's later revealed that these two people had an affair. Mm-hmm. And so the camera work right away. Are you looking up the cinematographer?
Yeah.
Okay, please. I assume it's the same guy for Ex Machina. The camera work was similar.
It's also the angle of it, and then also obviously the performance, the body language between the two made it seem real.
He's a great director. And again, he is. Just putting this out there, there's not to skip ahead, there's both this and Cloverfield Paradox have scenes where there's worms inside a person. The difference is Cloverfield Paradox just made me laugh, whereas this horrified me.
Rob Hardy is his name, and he was a cinematographer for Ex Machina.
Yeah. And again, it's just the difference between a movie where the person knows what they're doing and has a plan and there's skill behind it, and a movie where it's just a haunted house.
Yeah, and and okay, so the going back to what I was talking about the light and refraction and everything, the idea is that everything inside the shimmer, like, it just becomes fluid. Like,
they compare it to a prism, which I really liked.
It's a prism, yeah,
where everything splits and connects into each other.
Yeah, so they're
time, I imagine.
Yeah, because that's another thing is they lose time. Natalie Portman thinks she's been in there for a few days. She's actually inside there for 4 months. But they're basically inside a big cell, and they're all the same components inside that giant cell. So all of their DNA starts mixing. So like Natalie Portman has a tattoo show up on her arm that another character has.
Yeah, I like that.
And it seems like they start being able to read each other's thoughts too, or have each other's memories. Yeah, at least to a certain degree. It's very disorienting, but in a way that's not distracting, in a way that's very purposeful, which is meant to sort of, like, it seems like every time they go to sleep, they cut to some sort of timeline, alternate or previous timeline, and then Natalie Portman comes back to where she is in the shimmer, and it's like, I don't know where the fuck I am or how much time has passed.
Right, yeah. Man, meanwhile, there's fucking monster attacks.
Yeah, there's monsters, and they're fucking...
And they fit within the story. Like,
right, because it's the idea of cancer. It's cells growing out of control. So there's aspects of it that are really pretty, like these deer that have flowers on their antlers, and they look really cool and like iridescent and stuff, and these fish that look like iridescent, and everything's DNA is blending. And then there's stuff that's like eerie, like plants that grow into the shape of humans.
That's so good, because they explain it better in the movie, but they have like the DNA that dictates our structure as humans in the plant. So it's like a mishmash of different species DNA creating some weird hybrid. And yeah, sometimes it goes back to being neutral about, it's not sinister, it is what it is. Like these things they're still just animals, but it's horrifying.
Yeah, and the Force,
some of them are beautiful. It's
the Force itself, again going back to the title, it's just it's the end and the beginning. So it's like you said, it's totally neutral. It's like it's ever expanding and creating new things, but it's destroying things as well as it goes.
Right.
And it's destroying via creation. God damn this movie. Yeah. Okay, so there's stuff that's really pretty, and then there's stuff that's like this fucking crocodile that has a crazy mouth.
Shark
he has
teeth.
like shark teeth, but they go around in a spiral all the way down its throat. There's this fucking bear.
The bear is
out of control.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It oh my god.
The bear is real good.
It's like bare body, and then it's got like a skull face.
It's melting. It looks like it's growing so out of control that like its
skeleton's like bursting from it.
Yeah, it's like its body starting to separate, and we see that like a teaser of that in an earlier scene where they show a dead human body that has burst in half and grown out into this huge elaborate vine, and then like you see his head up top, and his head is burst in half to where like the top of his head grew out. Yeah, and his jaws go in one direction, and the top of his skull's grown out in all these other directions because he's both plant and man at the same time. And
there's a scene where they every now and then they'll find little clues left from the last people from Oscar Isaac's group.
Yeah.
And they watch a fucking
couple of horrendous videos, man. There's this movie.
Yeah, where everybody's sort of losing their minds too, because again they're dissolving, they're changing.
Their minds are fracturing and fragmenting.
And there's a video that they find of Oscar Isaac cutting open one of the other people who went on the mission, and his intestines are squirming like worms.
And he sticks his hand in there, and it's like coiling around it like a constrictor.
And it's so horrific.
And like they're kissing the guy on the head while they're doing it.
Yeah, they're like trying to like
keep him calm.
Yeah, like he's compliant.
Yeah, he's complicit in it, but it's a fucking horrifying scene.
And then I assume that's the person who's later you find in the pool who he is. Because
you see Oscar Isaac clearly put the knife down in the pool, and that's why Natalie Portman knew to go to the pool, and that's why Tessa Thompson knew that that's where the knife was. Yeah.
It's horrifying. The imagery is. I haven't seen something this original in a really long time when it comes to horror imagery. Like, it's not H.R. Giger, but it's that.
It's along those lines. Yeah, it's
like it doesn't look like an H.R. Giger design. I haven't seen something this originally horrifying looking.
Right. It doesn't look like rape turned into a monster. Yeah. Like it looks like.
It's not the same artistic style. It's just unique the same way his artistic style.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to describe, but it's really good.
Yeah, and this goes back to why isn't this movie blowing up right now? Because this is a fucking amazing monster movie, and yeah, it's a little disjointed. But again, so is Arrival. Movie like I don't think audiences are too dumb for a movie like this. I think they had said something about how they felt the movie was like too confusing or too sophisticated, and that's why they were scared of it, the studio. But I don't know why they didn't just make this advertise this as a monster movie.
Because 80% of the movie is a monster movie. Yeah. It's like they're sneaking into this bubble that creates monsters, and they get attacked by monsters.
We missed the part about the bear. That the bear has the ability to imitate human screams.
It's not even imitating it. It's much worse. Yeah, actually,
it's merged with the woman it killed.
It ate a member of the team earlier, so now when it vocalizes, it's her voice, but her screaming death throes.
It's amazing.
It's fucking wild.
That sequence.
You see this horror bear come in there, and it's just, oh man, it's like its face is sliding off its skull.
It looks so good. There's oh god.
That's such a good scene.
It is. I didn't get immediately why it wasn't just attacking them, but I realized like it's doesn't have eyes or something. Like it wasn't
something. I don't know. I don't understand that part. There's a couple of things that I legit don't understand that we'll get to. That's one of them.
Right.
The scene is one of the team members has kind of snapped a little.
Yeah.
And she's tied them all up in the night, the three other team members, and is accusing Natalie Portman and Jennifer Jason Leigh of like lying to them, because Natalie Portman doesn't tell the rest of the team that her husband Oscar Isaac was one of the people that went into this shimmer already.
Right, which makes sense. Part of me was like, just tell him. But I got it. I got why she just wanted to, because she didn't want to compromise the mission by making like...
Yeah, by
making it about her thing almost. Like she didn't want...
Even though she was, by being there, absolutely. It was like, I didn't want him to think that it was like a personal thing, except it was 1,000% a personal thing. But then they were all there for personal reasons, which is a thing you can get to. But yeah, that bear scene, she's got the three of them tied up. She hears what she believes to be the other team member outside, so she runs outside, and the bear fucking smacks her out of the way and then comes inside and is stalking around the three team members who are tied to the chair. And Natalie Portman at one point just says, just don't react. And it works. And they don't really explain why that...
It's like a Jurassic Park T-Rex moment.
Right. And that's not how bears work.
I don't think so. But I think... its face, I was wondering if it had something to do with like, did it not have like?
It was
a
hard.
Dark scene. Like,
you never see it clearly, which is another good thing about it.
Yeah, and so like it seemed like it was like sniffing and kind of confused.
Right, but
and again, it was just an animal. Like, it's not.
It was an animal, but then it was also like, I don't know, that bear, man.
Yeah,
that bear was awesome.
Horrifying.
There's so much to talk about in this film.
Yeah.
Again, the title and time back to the theme of the beginning and the end of life. Jennifer Jason Leigh's character, who's a psychiatrist, weirdly in charge of a military operation. They don't explain that either.
The military, I gotta say, the military side of this, they did as little explaining as possible with that, because it didn't feel like how the military would.
Right. It was like, well, they explained her away by being like, she was the one doing the profiling and selecting people for the mission. And it was like, well, she's just in charge now.
Yeah, I also like the idea that we were watching the military, like, depressed. Because, like, they had clearly sent a bunch of different teams in before, and just was getting nothing.
They're all just dying.
They're all just dying. And so then when we get to this military facility, like, they kidnap Natalie Portman just because her husband is important. And then she happens to be... Yeah, like a
biologist and a former army.
Yeah, and they're just like, "Oh, you wanna take a shot at this?" like I mean, they seem like they're just sitting there.
Yeah,
watching
they're
this
like,
thing
we're out of
them.
ideas.
Yeah, and the way that character, the psychiatrist, like, it was so apathetic, and like she's just like, it just keeps growing, and eventually it's gonna be like, it felt like they were at the end of this moment of like, people are gonna start finding out, and it's getting too big to hide. And we're just sort of watching this thing come.
Everything she was saying was an analog to the fact that she has cancer.
Right, yeah.
Which they reveal in the strangest way.
Oh yeah, it's like a random...
It's when they cut back to the current timeline, which is Natalie Portman being debriefed.
Oh yeah, and they say like...
They say, you knew she was sick. And she was like, I guessed.
Yeah.
And it comes out of nowhere. It comes like after the bear scene, like Jason Leigh is like, I'm going to go. Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Right.
It's like, I'm just going to go because I have to find the
But again, I like it because they don't treat that as it doesn't need to be this big reveal. The movie isn't trying to...
I agree that it doesn't need to be a big reveal. It was a strange way to reveal that information.
Well, I think it was just the natural way in the story, right?
I don't know. It just... Because they just cut back to him being like, you knew she was sick, didn't you? And in the audience, I was like, no. Yeah, I didn't have any idea. Nothing about her behavior suggested that to me. I mean, now it makes sense.
Yeah.
The fact that she's completely detached and everything she's saying about the shimmer, like... It's growing out of control. We can't do anything about it. Pretty soon we won't be able to hide it.
Oh, you're right. Everything, yeah.
That's her talking about her cancer.
Man.
And again, in the beginning of the film, we see cells growing, and then Natalie Portman reveals that what we're watching is a cancer cell growing.
Right.
So...
It's a smart movie.
It is. It is. That reveal is strange, but it's a real good movie. God damn, there's so much to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't even gotten to the end.
The ending,
the lighthouse, that sequence, I really
wild.
Liked. It was not what I was expecting, but I guess here's the thing: I got to a certain point in the movie where I really like this fucking detail. I didn't know what was going to happen.
Nope. I had no idea where this was going.
Yeah, there's a point where I was just like, I have no fucking clue what's going to happen when she gets to that lighthouse. Because it's everybody going to the lighthouse, going to the source. And so I knew, like, okay, we're going to get to that lighthouse at some point. That's going to happen, but no idea what they were going to find. And that obviously was the point.
Yeah.
And then it was nothing like I thought it was going to be.
It was...
But I didn't think it was going to be any. I couldn't. Man.
So they get to the lighthouse.
Well, she gets to the beach with those crystals.
The beach with these crystal trees. It starts looking like some dark crystal shit.
I think it's the water, right?
Water in the sand.
The water in the sand is becoming.
It's becoming glass or crystal.
Yeah, and it's very good imagery. Again, I don't know how they couldn't sell this movie.
And they get up to the lighthouse, and this is a part that confuses me, which is never explained. There's this decorative arrangement of bones, like human torso bones are arranged in a way where they're like sticking up out of the dirt like tombstones, and then there's more human torsos, again all skeleton, a little bit further away, and then at the head of this little arrangement, this little semicircular arrangement, is a semicircle of human skulls. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I figured either it's something from the book. That's explained in more detail, or I just sort of assumed Oscar Isaac's little group kind of just went apocalypse now and like just kind of went insane, and clearly these people died. And
that's not what happened though, because what oh, you mean arranging them like that is?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know,
like something like
because they're there. They're okay. Natalie Portman gets inside the lighthouse and finds a burnt corpse against one wall with a video camera pointing directly at it. And she looks into the video camera.
Which is fucking... I wouldn't have looked in that.
Yeah.
I know she has to find out, but
you find
a burnt corpse with a video camera. I'm just like, I think I know what happened here.
I can put these pieces together. But you see in the video that it's Oscar Isaac's video, and those bones are in the video, so they were there when he got there.
Right. The other thing is they keep saying they sent in a bunch of teams, and like at first, like I kind of assumed it was.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where I didn't know what it was, but from the history they gave, it's just like, okay, it could be one of many things that has happened.
Yeah.
It's gone horribly wrong in this area. People have gone insane. Their minds have been fractured. People are dying. Like some final survivor that wasn't, because Oscar Isaac discovered them as well. I kind of saw them as like just a nice little like flavoring on the environment of like this is a hellhole. And they've sent multiple teams, and Lord fucking knows what happened to those multiple teams. Like those are their own fucking movies.
Yeah,
you know?
those are
That every team is its own like separate horror movie that they could absolutely make out of this. I see why this is part of a trilogy of books. I don't know what the other books are about, but
so she gets into the lighthouse. It turns out that
Oscar Isaac
is dead. Like
dead.
He's the guy that burned himself alive, and then you see the person who steps up from the other side of the camera is also Oscar Isaac.
Yeah,
but the slick back hair beat poet version that shows a better house,
which I liked because again, this is like the cancer thing. They don't do these big reveals. The things just that sequence where she opens the camera and he sits down. You know immediately, like, oh shit,
yeah,
he's dead. But then they let it play out, and you have to like sit there and watch it fucking play out, and you're like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
But then you think you understand it, and then second fucking. I understood right away, like, okay, the husband that came home is not her husband.
Yeah.
Which is a creepy fucking reveal.
Yeah.
And then it's just punctuated by the other one walking into the shot. And that's not the craziest part of this.
No, then she climbs into the actual hellhole that's in the lighthouse, which, that's the H.R. Giger part.
Yeah.
That straight up looks like an alien ship.
Yeah, it does. Why didn't she go up? I thought she was going to go up because the lighthouse went up and it was like on. And it looked so... Like, I liked that imagery. They basically did a heaven and hell thing where it was like, you go up these stairs and it's beautiful and then there's this fucking hole. And if I had to explore that lighthouse, I would be like, no, do the hole last.
We'll save the hole for last.
Yeah, I'm going to look upstairs first.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into the hole. But she
goes right... Well, I think it's because
hole.
it's twofold.
She hears noises.
She hears voices coming from it. And then the other thing is it's clear that everything is growing out from the hole.
Right.
All these vines and like they look like bones because they're plants mixed in with the stone of the lighthouse. And then it's also started to grow like there's like a bunch of military gear that Oscar Isaac brought there. So she climbs into the hole. Jennifer Jason Leigh is down there.
Sorry,
I don't really know how to describe what happens next.
Well, Jennifer Jason Leigh is like talking to it, and again, it looks like an HR.
It looks like an HR Giger alien ship down there.
And she disintegrates. I assume it looked like all her cells and stuff. She was just becoming.
She becomes light. It's weird,
but the light's like little cells.
Right? Yeah. It's like it sort of like comes out, and you can see her sort of diminish, and then just completely become this light.
And it turns into like that weird portal thing. That turns in. My interpretation of this is that in order to make it something new, they had to get rid of something else. They had to break down something else and start creating something new.
Yeah,
so
and
her body was broken down and turned into that thing.
Yeah, that's what what the movie's been telling us up to that point.
Yeah.
Is that's why all these things are these weird mixes of each other. And then it creates a drop of Natalie Portman's blood goes into this light portal, and then it becomes this weird Rubber Man dumb, like a gimp suit.
Yeah, it becomes like Slender Man.
Yeah.
And he's like the texture was really cool because it was like metallic almost.
Yeah.
Like rubbery. And I loved she fucking does what anybody should do in that situation and fires bullets into it immediately.
She immediately shoots this thing.
And the way they do the bullets is so cool is they kind of go through and then they become like they just like melt into these like
so it looks like tentacles
that like shoot out of the back and then dry.
And then they start like growing back into her until it's like shooting bullets into like genetic soup.
Right, and then the thing in this very like and again a neutral way.
Yeah, it just
starts mimicking her movements.
Yeah, she attacks it so it hits her back, but with the same motion, and it just like she tries to run to the door of the lighthouse, and it does the same thing and presses up against her, but it's because it's trying to mimic what she's doing, which is leaning completely against the door. But with it's kind of a paradox because it's its own pressure leaning against her that it has to continue to exert because it's experiencing what she's experiencing. So it does it so much that she passes out, and as soon as Natalie Portman passes out, of course, its doppelganger does. Her doppelganger does. So they both turn around and fall down. And then it becomes her. So she does this like weird mirror thing where she puts a grenade in its hand and pulls the trigger, pulls the pin, and runs out.
Which seemed to work.
It burns. Like at this point, it's completely become just a Natalie Portman duplicate. And then it burns itself. It burns Oscar Isaac's body, which is apparently important. And then it walks back down into the center of the spaceship, and like while it's on burning with this phosphorus, and burns like the cradle that's in there.
Yeah.
Which is what Jennifer Jason Leigh was sitting in when she became a light vortex. And that destroys everything. It burns, all the glass trees burn down, the shimmer goes away.
Which I liked. I liked and because it's such a this situation. It's so like weird and like surreal and abstract. But you know what? Fire burns everything.
Yeah,
I both liked and like was surprised by the idea. It was just like, oh yeah, just fire. Like, had the military not like bombed this thing at any point?
I don't think so.
Or can it not get in?
I don't know. I don't know if they ever tried or. It felt a little like I get it mostly like from a narrative standpoint because it's like, okay, it's no longer projecting whatever its aura is, which separates and recombines DNA. So like all of its glass trees fall apart and everything it created falls apart. So I assume everything within that sphere dies, but she doesn't.
Natalie Portman.
Yeah, and she's a big old soup person now. She's a genetic soup.
That's the reveal at the end. She's been interviewed this whole time, and then they like end the interview, and she goes to hug not Oscar Isaac. Like they meet up.
Not Oscar Isaac.
She's like, "You're not my husband, are you?" And he's like,
"I don't think so."
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I like that he's not quite sure. And then they hug, and his eyes make a fucking weird
shimmer. Like a prism, and so do hers.
Right, and so do hers. And
so
then the movie ends, and so the idea is
new life.
New life, yeah.
But like, I like that from like a thematic standpoint. The ending was cool visually, and it was cool like thematically. Narratively, I had a couple of problems with it, just because it's like it seemed like it's the mothership basically. Well, how do we get out of this? Oh, you blow up the mothership and then everything falls. It's like, all right, so we're just going to Independence Day this thing.
Yeah, which it's that thing where they don't tell you enough that you can be like, well, I guess it worked like this.
Yeah,
which is an easy shortcut for writers.
Yeah. And I like like I was saying earlier, I like the element of the unknown. I just the mothership angle specifically in stories bothers me.
I like the element of the unknown when it's not used to cover up lazy writing.
Right.
And up until that moment, the movie had no lazy writing. It felt unknown, but it felt like when you did get a taste of what was going on, it all fit. It all made sense.
Yeah.
You get a feeling that the person in charge of this knows what's going on. And knows what they choose to tell and not tell you.
Yeah.
And that felt it's basically that horror movie idea. It's the ending of Thriller. It's you think it's over? It's not over. Look at their eyes.
Yeah.
It's that, and it's in a lot of horror movies, and
it did feel like the ending was like, I don't really know. It's like the director's like, it felt like Alex Garland at the end there was like, I don't really know what.
Yeah, or like I don't know.
I don't know why Oscar Isaac's doppelganger is suddenly not dying anymore.
Well, what I would argue is that he's out of the shimmer. So maybe that's it. Maybe the fact that he's like he was removed from it, so but he suddenly comes to.
Yeah, he was removed from it, but he was like his organs were failing and he was bleeding internally because he was just like this.
It implies some sort of fucking other plan of the alien, because they also ask her like, why did you make it out, and she was like, because I had to, or because like it felt like it was like this is phase 2 of whatever the fuck this thing is doing, where it was like, okay, we just need like a couple of people to fuck, but first we gotta infect them with whatever the fuck was going on.
Yeah, with our weird space cancer, with our rainbow cancer.
Like, it felt like maybe, like, I don't know. I want to say, because it's the thing of the two things pairing up, and that Oscar Isaac destroys himself, so that one doesn't have, like, a pair. Like, and then she destroys
the pair, yeah.
Yeah, so she doesn't have one either, and then they come together, and it's like, okay, that's going to be... Mm-hmm.
I get that. Yeah, no, thematically, the movie is I don't have any problems with.
I know, I'm trying to think of the logic.
The logic is a problem. But of course, it's
how this...
It's a sci-fi movie, so you can... I don't know.
And maybe there is something. I mean, I've been surprised in the past where a director comes out and explains, like, okay, this is what that was, and it's like, oh, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely not.
I don't know.
It's hard because it's a smart enough movie until that point that, and again, it sticks to its own rules to that point, that I don't want to feel like it just doesn't know how to end. Like, I don't mind the ending. It's just, yeah, I can't explain it.
Yeah, it's
because I get, okay, she's part of it now because it's a DNA weird pairing thing,
right?
They're,
she's a soup person. She's gonna soup person it up with Notsker Isaac, and they're gonna have a little soup child.
Yeah, I assume maybe his organs were failing and all that because he was. This is a bad explanation, but by pure coincidence, he was just adapting to being outside of his environment, and like he needed a moment, and then he got better coincidentally when the thing was destroyed.
That can't be it. It has to be because she came out and destroyed the Shimmer,
or maybe it's just because she came out, or it's.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope someone knows.
There could be a couple of reasons for it. I mean, and I like that it's. I do appreciate that it's a discussion. The only part of it that bugs me again is the mothership angle, but like the fact that it's
such a cliche.
Yeah. It's vague, but it's not so vague that I can't understand what the theme of it was, what it meant thematically.
Right.
Which again is great. Like it's well executed. It was.
Oh man, yeah.
He put all the information needed to put in there at the critical points to have you thinking sort of in that direction along those lines without it seeming like he was spoon feeding you shit.
Yep.
Which is good.
Love oh God, I love this director. Ex Machina is very similar. It's feels tonally like a horror movie, but it's a sci-fi and it has horror elements to it. It's a lot more straightforward. It's not a movie that you end and you go, I don't know what happened. Like it's very like, okay, this is what happened. And this Annihilation was like that up until that ending. Like it was fucking weird, but I knew
you got it. We understood what was happening.
And Ex Machina was like that as well, but throughout and it's
so good. really well done film. Some of the lines are bad. There's some bad dialogue in the movie.
Yeah, I didn't notice anything enough to like what
Natalie Portman's and subsequently the audience's introduction to the rest of the team was real sweaty. Like when Gina Rodriguez's character walks up and is like, "Hey," and then has her come over to the table, and it's the way they did it was
their conversation was a little.
Yeah, it wasn't the conversational stuff was real strange.
Yeah. Yeah, and this has all.
But then I mean, like some other lines are really good. Like most of Jennifer Jason Leigh's lines are great.
Yeah, I like this all-female lead, and it didn't, or all-female team going in, and mostly female cast, and it really didn't matter. It just was. Well, it matters, but it didn't matter. They weren't like really like calling attention to it, or they didn't seem like they were trying to brag about.
Yeah,
that
it seemed.
It just was like they mentioned it once.
They mentioned it once, and then it's in that same scene that I described where they're talking about all the previous teams, and then this new team that's going out. And Natalie Portman's like, it's all women, and they're like, well, it's all scientists. Whereas before it was all military people. But that got me, and I forgot about that because they never, like you said, they don't really call attention to the fact that there's like two men in this movie. Yeah. So it briefly got me thinking along those lines. I'm like, I wonder if it's going to be important, the fact that they're women. Yeah. And it doesn't seem to be, like, because I was thinking of, like, I don't know, because like the end...
They definitely I think it is important that they're scientists.
It's important that they're scientists, yeah, because they understand what's going on.
Yeah,
and that's what gives her the ability, I think, to cope with what's happening.
Yeah, because
they all sort of start to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
But like the end of the film is very much like she goes down, like that spaceship room is the cradle, like it's like the womb,
right?
And that's where like so I was wondering, I don't know if the fact that like. But it doesn't seem to be referenced in that way. Like I didn't know if it was, since it's about like creating new life. I didn't know if it was going to be important that the characters were female, and it doesn't seem to be.
No, it might
unless
within the overall theme or something.
Maybe just in the overall theme. Yeah, I don't know. There didn't seem to be anything directly in the film, unless I just missed it because I'm a dummy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, it might take a few watchings.
Yeah, I definitely have to see this again.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and you gotta see Ex Machina.
Yeah, I gotta watch Ex Machina, man.
Man, this director. I'm really excited about this director. I'm 2 in a row so far movies that have been.
I was surprised earlier when I was looking up who the cinematographer was. The budget for this film was $40 million.
Yeah, it didn't need much.
And it doesn't.
When you look at it,
yeah,
there's no big shots of cities blowing up. It's just like some basic effects, like a couple CGI animals.
Yeah, the crocodile looked pretty good, but that's the only one. It's the only one you see in full. Like the bear is concealed by darkness.
Yeah, and then it's just some set pieces. And
yeah,
like, for movies these days, and that was the same with Ex Machina. Again, it was one location. The CGI was really good, but it was because it was focused. They didn't need to do much. They just needed to make these robot people, and like they used as much practical stuff as they did and as they could, and then just sort of filled in the rest with CGI. And I'm very curious to know how much of this was practical.
Yeah, I couldn't tell with some of the the plant people. I couldn't tell how much of that was CGI. The guy that had grown up the wall of the swimming pool. Yeah, for a movie that's primarily exterior, I'm surprised that it because it still has this.
The other thing that it occurred to me at one point, they're like in the woods and there's just like some cool flower stuff, and it's like they're just shooting in the woods right now. Like this could be anywhere. Like probably Georgia, because I think they have good film tax breaks.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess Georgia
or Vancouver.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the dense jungles of Vancouver. Yeah. Yeah, it's just, man, what a film.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
It's a good movie.
I really liked it.
It's a movie that I definitely need to see again.
Yeah, and it's a movie that other people should see, and it bothers me. Again, maybe Ex Machina was the same way, is that people didn't really... Like, I don't know why these are, like, fringe or indie movies. Like, both Ex Machina and this one are movies that really I don't know why they wouldn't appeal to the public. They have everything we like in sci-fi, and it's just really weird to me that more people aren't seeing these.
I don't know. Maybe they're still feeling the sting of The Fountain.
Maybe this did have some Fountain-esque effects. No,
yeah.
I mean also Ex Machina, because Ex Machina again. You don't have to sell that movie. It's like fucking robot apocalypse style. Like, it's just AI and robot shit. I just don't know why. I mean, maybe that movie it got more popular, but like,
it started to get.
The studio looks at like this fucking horrific bear, and they're like, I just don't know how to sell this.
Yeah,
horror bear. Who's gonna want to see this? It's just like, are you fucking kidding me?
The most ghoulish fucking bear ever captured on film.
Yeah, didn't have, for the record. And you might have seen the scene in Ex Machina. It didn't have no dancing for Oscar Isaac.
No dancing for old Oscar.
Machina still, for all it is, it also has my favorite dance sequence in any modern film, which is a weird thing to say about Ex Machina.
That's a weird compliment to level at Ex Machina. I don't know what else to say about it.
No, it's just really good. People should see it.
The music. I want to talk real quick about the music. They set up I believe it's a Simon and Garfunkel song that gets played a few times, and it seems to be like their song, like Natalie Portman and Oscar Isaac. So the main theme of the film is this acoustic guitar theme,
which is not what you expect.
Not at all what you'd expect for this film.
It had some sci-fi music.
At the end, the music got so loud as the lighthouse was dissolving that I for a second there, I was like, is something wrong? Like,
that was the same with Blade Runner theaters. It would take you just to the point where you're just like, do I need to do something about this? And then it goes away. It's like, okay. Because I was about to freak out. Like, I was about to panic.
Yeah. I feel like my head is going to explode. Like, my ears are going to start bleeding.
THX
fucking, yeah. It takes you right to the brink. It's like, we're just kidding.
Yeah.
It's just a movie.
Which... I still don't get sick of that in sci-fi movies. I get that it's becoming a trope now. Like, the first time I experienced it was fucking 2001.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And that in multiple ways. The fucking part where they're on the moon and it starts
That's the worst.
screeching,
That's
it's
the
like,
worst,
fuck
yeah.
you, Kubrick. But there's other moments later. But, like, I don't know how else to depict something that's those moments. Because they're supposed to be these, like, life-changing, world-changing moments.
But in a way that's... It was
so fucking weird and
it's weird and it was simultaneously really pretty and then also deeply unsettling, and it's the way the music was crescendoing.
And it didn't sound like Blade Runner, it didn't sound like 2001. It was its own thing.
It kind of was a mix between the two, honestly.
Yeah.
And then the very end they repeat the image of the glass of water.
Right.
When she drinks it and then puts it down and the water separates like the two cells dividing.
Yeah.
Fucking movie.
Which is great. It was so good.
Fucking movie.
And then the ending is like the iTunes visualizer for the credits.
Yeah.
Which I appreciated. Because, man, maybe don't see this movie high. Maybe see it high. But if that felt like it was like a now for the people who are high.
I feel like you could see it both and have an entirely different experience both times.
Yeah, that's true.
Go see it not high and then go see it high. And then you'll get the totality of Annihilation.
See it on PCP too. Just keep it
definitely current. Angel Dust.
Angel Dust, yeah.
Just
meth, acid, I don't know, heroin.
Just all of them.
Yeah, just
all
keep
of them.
Doing
Just put it all in your Coke.
Yeah, that's how
just drink it.
Yeah.
That's how drugs work.